Hello friends. Welcome back to the What Savvy Said podcast. I am Savannah, aka the Savvy behind What Savvy Said. And guys, today's episode was not planned. I feel like that's kind of the MO behind recent stuff is I've really been in a space of just listening and creating from a different place. And I'm so excited about just how that's flowing and the energy that's kind of in my life right now and the way that things are changing. I will do a deep dive into all of that, I'm sure, at some point. Or you'll get like little tidbits as we go. But I had it in my mind that I wanted to record an episode this week. And I've been kind of sitting down and plotting out content for the next few months. And I really am just in a place of wanting to create content because I feel like I need to create it. Like it is something in my heart and soul that I need to talk with you about and not something that I feel like I should create, like in the sense of it's going to do certain things for my business or it's going to perform a certain way. I really want to get back to that like really sweet spot of unique creation where you're creating the things that you're meant to be creating. And that is where today's podcast comes from. So I'm super excited to chat through prayer and manifesting with you and kind of bring it into a scope of how it works for me and the things that I've seen it do, and to open your mind to that. If you're like me and you have a very religious background and you grew up Christian or you have some kind of other faith that you're bringing in and you aren't quite sure where manifesting fits into that block for you. Like you hear about it, you think it works, it might still seem really woo to you, you might really not kind of get the concept around it. I'm hoping that we can dig into that a little bit today and just kind of break that up and ground it a little bit more / connect the dots between the two, and hopefully that'll help you as you're looking to create your happiest and healthiest life. But first we're going to do a bit of gratitude. So if you follow me on Instagram, shameless plug, you guys know I'm going through the money mentality makeover. There are too many things and I always want to say the wrong thing, but I'm loving it, and it's really been a shift in perspective of a lot of things for me. And one of the things that I want to say it was Maddie Fraser said in a podcast episode, like one of the first ones that we recorded, just her advice business-wise was to live in the middle. And I feel like it's great life advice. And if you're somebody who really struggles with anxiety and your emotions being all over the place, I find that finding a way to live in the middle really helps ground me, and it keeps me from feeling like so overwhelmed or just riding the roller coaster of my emotions. But right now, as I'm working through different things and really challenging myself and shifting my perspective and like reframing my mind, there's definitely things that trigger a little bit more because I'm more vulnerable in certain areas. And so this morning I woke up and was tackling my finances, and I'm still really shifting things in that area and opening my mind and changing my beliefs and, daily going through the things that I maybe have kind of ingrained in myself and I don't realize. And so this morning, as I was going through my finances for the next 2 weeks and just kind of looking at what I need to be doing, what I need to be saving, I have a lot of stuff going on between now and the end of the year. And I just kind of went into this headspace of, it wasn't necessarily negative. It was just, I wasn't where I wanted to be, and I was creating anxiety around something I didn't need to be creating anxiety around. And so I had a lot of just internal dialogue going on from what I was thinking and what I thought would be conversations that would be happening around me. And I was trying to set boundaries really quickly, and it was a lot for this morning. And so I had already decided that I would take some time this morning. I would go and get some groceries. I had originally planned to go to Whole Foods because I wanted to get some of the Capello stuff. I wanted to get Mock. There are a few brands that just aren't locally accessible to us. But as I got in the car and I was just feeling that sense of a little bit of overwhelm, a little bit really wanting to get through the moment. And the thing that would have helped me and normally helps me in those times is to journal, is to stream of conscious, write something out. But I was driving, so that wasn't happening. I was also listening to Bridgerton, and my anxiety was extra in the sense that I was feeling very impatient because I was listening to a book I'd already listened to, and I was like, I really just want to get to this one part. And I don't remember where it is, or not there yet. So it's all the little things, but the gratitude for this. So as I'm going through this morning, I decided that I'd stop in Seaside Square. And if you guys don't know, they've had a lot of changes over the last year with their parking situation, where you can park, paid parking, all of that. But they recently have changed it to free parking. And Seaside's one of my favorite places, but it's been especially packed over the last year, more so because Florida stayed open more and people, they didn't have their kids in school. So why wouldn't they like come hang out at the beach for a week and, homeschool that way, whatever. So it was the perfect time to like go, and I just went and I kind of walked around a little bit. I got like a little bit of a snack. I got a cold brew and I sat outside just in the sun and just let myself breathe and let myself have that moment and kind of got out of my environment. And something that James Clear talks about in Atomic Habits is one thing I come back to time and time again, is the environment is huge with things, but just taking that moment for sunshine and taking that moment to kind of ground myself and remember and be like, you know what? I'm not going to like push through. I'm going to give myself a moment to kind of sit and what I need to sit in and check in with my thoughts and realign myself and, give myself that minute. And it was so good. It was something that I really needed. And I want to do an episode at some point kind of talking about how I've been approaching things lately, in the sense of I'm doing a lot less and I'm getting a lot more. And it's taken me a long time to get there, and there's been like a whole journey to get to that place. But to be able to do that this morning, it was 20 extra minutes in my journey. I ended up deciding to go to a local health food store instead, and they're one of my faves. They're a little bit pricier, so I don't tend to buy a ton of stuff, but they're one of the ones that have like all of the things that you see on Instagram. So they're great if you don't want to buy like bulk items for a place. Anyways, I digress. I went there, I got some things. I went to Fresh Market, I got some things. I kind of listened to the Bridgerton musical for like the 4th time because now I'm hooked on it. It was just taking that moment and giving myself permission to be like, you know what, I'm going to veer off the course. I feel drawn to this. I feel drawn to taking this moment for myself, and I'm not going to talk myself out of it. I'm not going to overly question. I'm just going to do it. Because I think it's sometimes we get in that place of where we're like, no, we can't justify it, therefore we don't do it. So that was one of those where I was like, this sounds like something I need to do, so I'm going to do it. And I did it, and I felt a million times better afterwards. So, highly recommend. But that is one of my moments of gratitude this week. There's been a lot of things that have happened that I will share as we get through stuff, as I'm kind of on the other side of it. But I feel like movement is happening in my life the way that I want it to, and I'm excited to share that energy with you guys. All right, guys, so let's talk about prayers and manifesting. And I haven't written notes for this. I feel like it's going to be, I'm not sure where we're going to go with this, but I hope that we can kind of follow along and you can get the gist of what I'm saying and kind of the shift that this has been for me and how that changes and how I integrate both in my life and what I feel like they are similar as and how I feel like they're different. So I grew up in a Christian household. I would still say that I'm Christian, although I'm not sure how I identify with that word right now. I'm very much on a journey of kind of building a relationship with myself and God and what that looks like outside of how the church has created itself. I've always had a very strong relationship with God. I've always felt like we've walked life together. That's never really been a question for me. I feel like if you separate like all of the other things and it's just me and God, we've always been there. That's always been the journey. I've always been asking for guidance. We've always had that relationship. I've always felt like he's gotten me through all of these different things that I never would have gotten through on my own. So however you want to identify that, he, she, universe, whatever. But growing up Christian, there are a lot of things that as I'm kind of digging through, I guess, some religious and spiritual trauma and looking at maybe some of the things that churches have inherited down versus the ways that we've been kind of conditioned in fear. There's a lot of stuff that I don't know that I fully understood about a prayer life. And it wasn't until I really started diving into the work, and part of it's been some of my manifesting stuff, but like diving into this idea of what our place is in creating the life that we want. Because prayer's been a part of my life for forever. That's been a consistent thing. And being open to help and asking for help and, giving thanks in the morning when I would wake up automatically for being alive and the day that I had and just all of that, that's been natural. But the shift for me and all of that, and I think it took me from prayer to kind of somewhere in the middle to manifesting, and then kind of having both in alignment for separate reasons, was I realized that I was using prayer as an excuse to not show up for the life that I wanted. And I think that that's something that it took me a while to reconcile, is that the way that I use prayer now is not the same way that I used prayer before. And it was almost as though, for me, it was like I had no say in my life. I might have it, but I was tethered to a God who could send me across the world to the Peace Corps, even though that just doesn't seem like the life that I needed, and it would terrify me. And, I mean, I'm sure I could get my head around it if I absolutely had to, but like, those were the kind of like fears I had around just blindly giving my life up. And so I kind of felt like, I guess, that I didn't have a hand on the steering wheel, that I was not fully involved in my life, that I was to some degree, and obviously I could make things happen. Like, I had a choice, but I also felt like I didn't have a choice. And however that shaped in my mind, I'm sure I could do the work and dig into that. But for me, prayer was always a very like hands-off kind of situation. And it was, you get what you get. Like, you spin the wheel, you get the answer you get, and here's what we do. Like, this is how it goes. Just hope for the best. And so when I really started to dig into the idea of, if I woke up tomorrow and all of my responsibilities were gone, like all of the people that I was caring for at the time. So around 2019, 2018, when I started really realizing that I was a few years into living at home and being in this place of, I'm taking care of an elderly person. I moved home to do this. 2016, 2017 were so chaotic, it really didn't matter. Then we had a hurricane in 2018. So like, I consistently, I've seen every year why I have been in the spaces that I have been. There have been consistent events to show me that. But I started to get to a point, probably beginning of 2019, where I thought, okay, I need to start planning my exit strategy. And I can't continue to live as though everybody else has more power over my life than I do. And I started really digging into that idea. And once I did, and once I realized in some way, like, I had more power over my life than I thought I did, I really shifted. And I got to a place where I started manifesting things without necessarily realizing that I was manifesting things. I wasn't in a space to fully understand it. I've manifested things before where it's been quiet things where I'm just like, this is what I want to happen and this is how I want to happen, and I'm kind of putting it out there, but I'm not worried about it. Like, I know it's going to happen. Specifically, one of the many things that always comes to mind for that was when I went to sell the land that I inherited from my father. It didn't have high taxes. I was kind of at the point where, like, I think I had it for, I don't know, maybe over a year, but I was at a point where, like, I wanted to sell it. I wanted to release it, but I wasn't so sold on the fact of like not selling it for what I wanted it to be. I knew exactly how much I wanted to get for it. I wasn't worried about it. I very much was in a place where I was like, it'll happen. Like, I'm not gonna push it. I don't need to push it. I know that it will. And that was like a quiet whisper for me. I just let it sit out there. And then somebody came along and wanted to buy it and wanted to pay cash and wanted to pay exactly what I wanted to for it. And I was like, cool, done, sold. It was done in like 2 weeks. Things like that, where there's not an anxious energy around it. There's just I know this is what I want. I believe I'm worthy of it. All right, I'm putting it out there. And I feel like that's kind of where manifesting is different than prayer. And I use both, and I use them in different ways. But I've set out the things where I've set goals for the back end of the blog, and I'm like, I want this number of page views for the month. And I put that out there, and then I just do the work. And it took me a while to realize that I was manifesting that versus it just kind of happening. Because as I've spent the last year and a half really digging into what it looks like to be a content creator and to run a business this way, and all of the different ways that you can do it versus the ways that I wanted to do it, and the ways that I've always been the most successful are saying, this is what I want, and I'm going to trust that the things that I'm doing in this scope are going to provide the results that I want, and I'm going to listen, and I'm going to be guided, and I'm going to stay in my center with that. But I didn't realize that that was what I was doing until I got to the other side of it, and I was like forcing stuff, and nothing ever really felt right. And so when it comes to manifesting versus prayer, I think it's probably most helpful to like give you guys an example, so I'm not like trucking these circles for forever. So one of the things I have right now is very much like, I have financial goals for myself. I have energetic financial goals for myself. And one of the things I've always struggled with, I've said it in multiple podcast episodes, I've said it over the years, is I hate pitching. It is one of my least favorite parts of doing this job. And it's something that I've honestly never been able to push myself to do. Like, I'm the person who, if I can't energetically get behind it, it is not happening. And it's something that I just have not done. I've started conversations with things, and some of that might be a different conversation about, knowing your worth and having those like doors kind of open. But I'm not somebody who likes to chase things. I very much vibe from the space of I don't chase, I attract. What is meant for me will simply be. But like before, I'm not asleep at the wheel. Like, that is not how I handle that. So currently, my goals are large. They're getting larger. They will continue to get larger. I'm very excited about that. But in that aspect, when it comes to manifesting versus prayer, I will sit down, like I sat down yesterday, and I've set out some goals for myself. I set out what I thought I wanted and what like felt like a good thing. And I'm definitely constantly realigning myself into like what I think I want versus what I actually want, because sometimes I'm projecting this idealized version or what I think I should be having, not what I actually want. And it takes me a minute to check in with that. And I sat down and wrote out, my goal budget for the other day and kind of what I wanted for the month. And then yesterday morning I woke up and I really wasn't quite there. Like, I sat down to do my visualizations. I have a song that I like to use. It plays with all of my alarms for my affirmations throughout the day. And I sat down to do it, and I just felt like I was not energetically matched. Like, I was not in a great headspace as I was sitting down to do it. And I was like, okay, we're going to not do this. We're going to journal. And so I went through and I journaled, and I did essentially kind of what you do in the artist way. Like, I just did a stream of conscious journaling and just let myself talk and write and walk through it without worrying about it. And I got through the other side and I was like, okay, that's where I was like holding back, because this is how I was feeling about that. And so with manifesting, it comes from a place of, here's the thing that I want, and I'm going to be an energetic match for it, meaning I'm going to believe that I'm worthy of it. I'm going to believe that I have it, I can have it. I'm going to believe that it is a reality that I can create, co-create, have in my life. But at the same time, I'm also going to be open to the opportunities to do those things that I might not see. And that side is where prayer comes in for me, is to daily check in with the ability to receive help from somebody else, to be guided, to be pushed, to have doors closed that I don't need to follow. That is where the other side of the co-creation comes in for me. So I 100% fell in like a mental rut last month, and I was having a really hard time getting out of it, and I was just really staying under it. And so I was very much praying for that to happen, for like help to get out of it, because I was stuck in a reading bubble and I couldn't get myself out of it, and I wanted to get out of it, and it wasn't serving me. And I was just like, I just need help. And I got to the point where God was like, listen, we're just not going to make this work. Like, you're not going to be able to download anything. It's not going to happen. I'm going to help you intervene. That is where prayer comes on the other side of this for me, is knowing that at the end of the day, I can show up to the best of my ability, but I'm also going to need help, and then I'm supported in that, and then I can be guided in that. And so with manifesting, I think it invites the other side to make sure that you're actually showing up for the things that you want, that you believe you're worthy of the things that you want, and that you're willing to do the things that might not seem so traditional to get the things that you want. In an aspect of blogging and content creation and like my side of the world, one of the things I most commonly see, and you'll see it with influencers, you'll see it with bloggers, YouTubers, whatever, you'll see people who have created courses or have created XYZ thing to tell you exactly how you can do this for a living, what you need to do, how you can do it, all of the steps. And for some people, I feel like it's totally valid. Like, I'm never going to say that it doesn't have a time and a space. I think for businesses, it's incredibly helpful, because if you're using content creation as a piece of the puzzle to build your business of a product that you're selling, it is a great way to utilize internet tools that are already available to you. But if you get so stuck in that side of it that you aren't willing to be open to a good idea and trying stuff, that's where things fall off. And so for me, being in that space of being so contingent on all of the things that should work and should be done was not helping me be an energetic match for things, because it was never anything that I really wanted, nor was it something I aligned with. So it wouldn't matter if I was praying and asking for all of these things when I had a belief system, when I believed that the only way that I could succeed was to go through these particular routes. And so I was essentially shutting myself off and making sure that I believed that I was wrong because I wasn't doing it that way. It wasn't working for me, and that this was the only way that I could succeed. Now, obviously, that's not necessarily true. So many of the partnerships that I've had over the years, honestly, a good majority of all of the success of this space has been from stuff I have manifested. It has not been from me pitching. It has not been from me chasing. It is from me sitting down and saying, this is what I want this month. This is what I want to happen. And then bam, things show up in my email inbox because I've created the pathways. I'm 110% accessible to work with and to create with. And I've maybe started some conversations that have benefited me down the road, but I have aligned with what I know works for me and what I feel at peace with and how I feel like I should operate and want to operate. All of this is to say, I very much think that you can have space in your life for prayer and manifesting. I think they honestly go together so beautifully. And once you can kind of step into that middle space of realizing, A, you have power in your life, that you have the ability to co-create in your life, that you have the ability to speak up for what you want in your life, and then you can start doing the work in a new way. You can show up and pray for the things and ask for guidance. And part of that is putting yourself to be an energetic match for new ideas. Like, you're also still manifesting in another way because you are creating that humility and that gratitude, and you're being open to doing things in a new way. But the thing that manifestation truly requires, if you want to keep digging and growing and having all of these things, is to dig in and do the work of who you are and what you believe you're capable of having. So it's an ever constant, ever growing, ever giving kind of relationship, but they help each other. They are, I guess, like a symbiotic relationship, because when you're in a place where you're hitting a block and you don't understand and you need to see something differently or understand something differently or think or believe something differently, you have the ability to pray and rely on someone else to help you do that you're not doing it alone, that you are co-creating and building this life that you want with multiple tools in your toolbox. So we're going to do a little challenge this week to help you kind of apply this to your life, maybe to start shifting in new little ways. It is the beginning of the month when I'm recording this episode, so we're like fresh in October. So sit down and come up with something that you think, I would really love for this to happen this month. And it doesn't have to be like, I'm not going to say it has to be like insanely realistic, but it needs to be one of those things where it's like, maybe like 3 notches above something that you probably have already set as a realistic goal. So it might be that you have a certain income thing that you want to hit. You might have a certain opportunity that you want to hit. It might be a certain relationship. It might be a certain partnership. It might be I want to do this thing, but I need this person or that thing or whatever to kind of come across my path. And I've done this a lot where I've like researched and Googled, and it hasn't been the right time, the right space, the right whatever, and then I do it again and suddenly I'm getting the answer that I want. So this is one of those times where it's, if I could have any one thing happen this month and I don't have to feel guilty about it and I can just let myself have it, what would I want it to be? And then you do the work. And from the manifesting side, you look at, okay, here's the thing that I want. Now, what is my experience with this? What are all the things that I believe about it? What are all the things I've heard about it in relationship with money, or maybe even if it's like a relationship kind of thing? What's your experience with dating? How did you see relationships when you were younger? What did you believe a relationship looked like? What have your experiences been with the relationships? What are the relationships like around you? And start to dig into that and look at, okay, well, these things have influenced me, and so based on my own actions, I probably believe this about a relationship. So what can I believe differently about this? And again, to kind of put this in like a tangible example perspective. So as I've been going through my own money work and looking at how things have progressed and just kind of dialing into some of that. And I've done a lot of the pre-work because this is not new for me. One of the beliefs that I've seen in myself is, big chunks of money can come and go. Like I can have it one month and not have it consistently. And so reshifting that belief for me is looking at what are the affirmations that I need to speak over that. Okay, well, I can have a consistent income every month. Money flows to me consistently and increasingly every month. And then in the same regard, I can also pray, how do I see this differently? Show me the ways that this has happened that maybe I haven't caught, to realign that for myself. So they go hand in hand if you're willing to be in the middle and to put your own hands on the wheel and your foot on the gas a little bit more, and trust that maybe the universe is like your auto brakes, or they're, the stoplight. They're the things that help you get the car where you need to go, but you still have control over the car. Like you are a driver in your life. It is okay to co-create in your life. You just have to be willing to step out of that completely passive state and start owning the fact that when you start asking for stuff, it gets hard. When you start asking for stuff, when you start expecting stuff, when you start showing up for the things that you want, a lot of stuff in your life shifts. People in your life shift. You're not going to have the same friends. You're not going to have the same finances. Your mindset's going to shift. You're going to need more things than you probably realize in that moment. And as you're making those shifts, one of the things that I love to do is I have a handful of podcasts and people that I listen to throughout the day, especially when I'm making big mental shifts. When I am making big mental shifts, I am fully consuming all of the content based on the bubble of what I am trying to shift in my mind. I almost put myself in like a full mental immersive state throughout the day because there's so much digital content that allows me to do that. And so when I have those moments of doubt, when I have those moments where I'm not quite sure, I have something in my mental toolbox to pull out to work from. I'm always putting information in the mental toolbox of my life. And when it comes to shifting to that state of understanding and believing and manifesting while also understanding in a place of prayer, it can take some time. I would definitely encourage you. I will leave some of my favorite podcasts down below, some of my favorite resources that have really helped me understand it without it being so woo-woo, is what I'm really going to say. I'm going to say woo-woo. Guys, I love a bit of woo-woo. I welcome the woo-woo, but there are some times where I'm just like, I don't know that I want to give my power to something. Like crystals, I love them. I will have them around, but I don't know that I want to put my power in a crystal. Like that does not make sense to me. But I invite the opportunity to see something and to have a visual reminder of something. So it's great to have the tools in your toolbox. It's great to have the things that kind of help you learn, understand, and grow. And I very much think that it's not one or the other, that you can build a life that allows you to do the things that you love and to have the life that you love and to really be the best version of yourself when you find that middle ground between prayer and manifesting. So that is all I have for you guys today. I will be putting some journal prompts up on the blog this week as like a dig through how to break through your funk, I think is what's going up. So if you're in a place right now where you're like, I don't even know what I want, like I'm not sure how to even begin, like how the heck do I even start manifesting? Start there. Start in a way of just kind of working through your stuff. I will definitely do some more episodes and other things to really kind of dig through how to shift your perspective quickly and how to get out of those things and how to create a breakthrough for yourself when you feel like you're blocked. That is 100% something we will talk about. But I hope this week's episode helped you. If you would, please give us a review on iTunes because it helps more people find us. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast. I do send out a weekly newsletter, just kind of pouring into you guys, helping to motivate you at the beginning of the week. That goes out every Sunday. It also gives you the opportunity to catch up on anything. So maybe if you only follow on one platform or you're somebody who doesn't like to spend a ton of time on social media, I will put all the links for all the things that have happened in the week. Sometimes I do micro posts, sometimes I do blog posts. Essentially, it's one space to really just give you all of the information, all the tools, all of the things that you need to really empower your week. So make sure you check that out. It is linked in the description box for this episode. Tell a friend. Come hang out with us on Instagram if you want some daily motivation, if you want to see healthy habits in action, if you want to feel like there's somebody out there who has your back. Everybody who checks when they work out on Instagram stories, I love it. You guys are the best. It's so much fun to see if you've done it, if you've not done it, on the days when you've done like movement in another way and you're like, does this count? Like I just did 1,000,000 stairs. It totally counts. You moved your body. I love it. It's one of my favorite things to do and post with you guys on the regular. So I love you guys. It is a good day to have a good day. I'm so glad you're here. Let me know if you have any questions about this episode, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye, guys.